Hey guys, today we're talking about um, birth trauma. I, I think that black women and indigenous women and some Hispanic women, not, or some Latin women who are a mixed race. So that's the best way I can describe it, okay? Um, some people that are Cuban, some people that are Venezuelan may be seen as Latin or of Spanish origin, but not entirely. I'm not really the biggest when it comes, like, I don't really understand the complexities of race when it comes to South Americans. I just know a lot of Cubans, and I know that they're diverse. You have people that are black, people that are white looking, people that are mixed, people that are indigenous. So it's very much, it gets complicated when you go into that. But nevertheless, I mean, depending on how you are presenting in Western society, that will determine a lot of your treatment. So there are women who come from these communities that present more black or more indigenous, and because of racial discrimination and exploitation, people of color receive worse treatment. Okay, so people are stereotyped. Um, some of the stereotypes have to do with the assumption that black women are of a lower income, dependent on government resources, single, and have multiple children. Um, but I feel like in my experience, it wasn't necessarily, like, it's not necessarily based on these stereotypes, I think most of it has to do with people are programmed to associate our our form with, like, disgust. Like, people associate our skin tone with dirtiness, and our bodies, they don't want to, like, aid, or, like, they just don't care. They're programmed to think that, to not touch us. Actually, like, I studied healthcare, and some of my peers would be uncomfortable with engaging and touching people of color, and it's just like I would just go on and always take the people of color who we were drawing blood from. I would always take the initiative. So yeah, like, it's not like it's unheard of. I've had people make fun of our areolas, our genitals. In history, people have not only made fun, but they demonize our form. They associate us with everything negative, dealing with disgust. So if you're programmed that way, how do you provide proper care for someone who is birthing? Like, how can we expect to receive proper care if we have to deal with someone, if we're under the care of somebody who's programmed? So implicit bias tests are vital. I'll, like, share with you guys, like, my experience, even within my own community. People that have my features or who look more West African are even demonized and not wanting, like, and just shamed for being naturally, like, of color, naturally having Aboriginal or black features. And those who look more ethnic are, you know, those who look more ethnic are picked apart, um, far worse by people in their own community. Those who look more like colonizers, historically. Those who look more like Europeans, who have lighter skin, are not targeted. So in our own community and outside the community, people associate us with disgust because of due to racism and programming. With that knowledge, it can help you to properly discern and advocate for yourself, but you will have to be careful in how you advocate because you could become a target. It's unfortunate, but I realized that in the South, where racism was very prevalent, especially Jim Crow and just like, the Civil War and just racism, you know, slavery, racism, all that stuff was more prevalent in Georgia, South Carolina, Texas. And these are the places where women of color are experiencing the highest maternal mortality rate. So, I mean, obviously, there's truth to it. So, for me, what I'm choosing to do is to share with you guys my experience to the best of my ability. And another thing that I realized is that it does take a mental toll. Like, it's mentally exhausting and it's emotionally exhausting. But you just keep on pushing, like, you don't give up, and you keep celebrating what you have naturally so that people can't easily break you down. So diving into my own implicit bias, did it help me to better understand how people see me and how I have been discriminated against in my own personal life. Like I said, people online, on Reddit, on other forums, medical students, and other people will secretly make fun of women of color body parts. And if they're entering the medical field, they bring their prejudices with them. So you really do have to be careful where you go. I always read reviews. I always have support around me, and I make it known that, what my rights are, that I'm aware of my rights, and that I'm not ignorant. So that's the best that you can do, and just go to places or create an environment that's safe. If you're living in a place where there is a high rate, it's best to be as healthy as you can so that you can have a home birth, because being in a facility probably won't do you justice. It's been really difficult to make this video because I'm dealing with my own issues concerning my own health care during my pregnancy. I intend on this being my last pregnancy. I don't want to have any more children in this country. If I ever move to a different nation, or I just don't see myself having any more children in the future. I plan on being sterile after this. It's unfortunate, but I'd rather not go through the type of trauma that I've been having to deal with, okay? So a lot of women have been on TikTok and they've been talking about how, a lot of the medical professionals and staff during labor and delivery, they don't really honor dignity during delivery. So they'll just, like, without your consent, invite medical students to observe you as if you are some type of, like, display while you're birthing, and you're fully exposed and in pain. It can cause labor to slow down. It can also it can traumatize you, and it can make it harder for you to bond with your child, and it can make it harder for you to go through the postnatal, like, time, like, your healing time. All of that it could actually make things more difficult. It's already going to be difficult. Sometimes they'll ask, like in my situation, my provider asked during the time that I was heavily medicated and I was pushing. So not a really good time to ask if someone wants about 10 to 15 strangers that are medical students in the room. So during, like, pushing, that they asked, and I wasn't really aware of what they were asking. I just said, yes, sure. because I wanted the pain to stop. So after I birthed the baby and I opened my eyes, so I was actually closing my eyes, which is something I do when I'm in a lot of pain. I seen all these strangers observing me, and it was very traumatizing. So I just told them, please leave. I don't want medical students in here. And they left, you know. And while they were nice about it, I feel like it was, for them, it was exposure therapy. But for me, it was very traumatizing.